Hello and welcome to this, our final episode of NaPoWriMo 2022. Thank you so much to all of you who have joined us throughout April and now beyond into the swampy depths of May to discuss NaPoWriMo, National Poetry Writing Month, as we've been doing it for 5 poems over 5 weeks. We have written poetry in terza rima, standard happy. We have constructed found poetry, have discovered contrapuntal, and have done one terza rima and something else as well. Oh my god,
Villanelle.
Oh, sorry.
Doesn't matter, Bex. It's over. We didn't do any of that
over.
this week. We did nothing this week, and I was happy.
We did do nothing this week. It was nice to be able to go back to not writing poems, which is what
status quo of our lives
which is what the other like 47 weeks of the year looks like. Thank you to everyone who's been writing. Well done to everyone who completed National Poetry Writing Month and wrote 30 poems, but also well done to anyone who wrote a single poem or started a poem or did anything poetry related this month. Thank you for making this scene cool and making more people be aware of the awesomeness that is poetry and spoken word and all of that lovely, lovely stuff. It wouldn't be a final episode if it was just me, so thank God it's not, and I'm joined by my good pals Mark Gallie, Katie Ailes and Kevin Mclean.
We could have made it just you. That was an option.
It's not.
The Sherwood show.
Ooh.
I'd watch that.
Great.
Yeah,
that's not what it is. I feel like everyone's now going, oh, cool, I'll just sign off then and leave Bex to talk for
Cool, yeah. We can just
that was
leave
an
you to it.
Yeah, happy end of NaPoWriMo, everyone.
Yeah, I mean, we could leave Bex. She's the one that cares about NaPoWriMo way more than the rest of us. The one that
drags us through every month.
The one the one that challenges us, Katie. She shouldn't put us through anything. We're poets. We're supposed to write the poems.
I mean, I needed to be dragged.
Yeah, it is. Yes. I mean, like the last few years,
nudging
from 0 to now have been quite challenging for all individuals who have lived. Particularly if you're a poet and there's shit stuff happening, it can be really difficult to write. And when we were all trapped inside forever, it felt like that's very difficult to find new source of inspiration. And that's part of the reason why we used form to guide and lead the journey for NaPoWriMo both last year and this year. But we wanted to talk a little bit about what we've been up to, about what's going on, about what we're going to do next, maybe some speculative stuff about NaPoWriMo 2023. But before we get started, obviously we can't conclude NaPoWriMo until it has been proven that all of us have written 5 poems in the form. Now, Mr. Mark Gallie either pretended to or did in fact get the vid. So we'll leave it up to you if you believe him. I believe him. And you missed Standard Happy Week. It's totally fine. I'm just taking the piss. But I've heard you now have one to complete the set, and I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I was more devastated than most when I had to miss Standard Happy Week. Weirdly, because it was also the form that I was actually probably most excited for before we started, because I was like, that sounds fun. And like since the form fundamentals video from Dr. Katie Ailes came out, I've started thinking about poems differently, and I've always really liked Standard Happy's meter in that. So I was very upset to be taken down with the illness, but I refused to not get them all done. It's one of the proudest moments for me is getting them done every day in 2020. Then to manage, like, I think we all did last year with that as well. But I didn't want to have anything that people could and have been holding over me.
Kevin.
Despite the fact that when you add all 3 years up, I would still have more poems than them, even if I had not done the Standard Happy. But I'm just
poetry.
It's
all about competition.
I mean,
that's not even a joke. That's mostly
here a little bit in many ways. I mean, slam is innately competition.
That's true.
Like, and I hate nice trash talk. Like, you're gonna do great. You too. Like, so yeah. And I will. For those that when this is coming out, those that were there, our April open mic at Kilderkin, I did in fact use this as my opening poem.
Right.
So people that
was
are
that
watching
a way to prove that you did it in April? Ahead of the
time, I knew that it might not go out, and people would be like, nah. So Batman. It's not about Batman. I should preface that immediately, as that works for the joke, but my standard habit has nothing to do with Batman.
Disqualified.
Disqualify it. So it doesn't really require much content, but I feel some context would be helpful, not necessarily an explanation. So it's written sort of in a persona or in it's a character sort of bit. Now, anyone that has done like played some video games, watched some Game of Thrones, read fantasy books, any of that sort of fantasy genre, like Dungeons and Dragons, RPG, any of those kind of like sort of stuff, eventually you'll find a character who's just an excellent merchant. The person who's like that you go to for the stuff, whether that's the nice merchant that's giving you the things you need and is just your good pal, or whether that's like, you know, like the troll that you have to go under the bridge to get the vial of the thing. So this is more on the latter of that. But so this is, you know, a standard habit from the point of view of, you know, the best merchant ever, a guy you can go to for anything. So here you go. Turning to form in so many ways. Hello, good evening, and good day. Welcome, come in, enjoy your stay. You've journeyed far through skies of grey to see my wares. Take care, these tools are not for play, best be prepared. First, let me show you something fun. This arcane-infused lightning gun, and long range too, they cannot run, but if they try, it leaves no trace. There is no stun, your foes will die. A scroll of spells or magic craft, strength or brain enhancing draft. Give them to your entire staff and let them fight. Sit back, relax, enjoy a laugh, ungodly sight. Does your base need a good defense? Deadly, but with elegance. You want a trap that represents villains galore. Surprise attacks turned past tense, problem no more. Then how about a dungeon beast? Something with claws and tearing teeth, takes intruders and makes a feast. Too easy, in fact. With a gesture, you can relieve death, just like that. But that's my stock, old and new, enough for you and for your crew. Tools and toys from Dark Taboo to win the game. So how about it? What say you? Oh, what a shame. That's my standard hobby.
I love that.
Written
so
from a madman with access to stuff.
Great. Perfect. Yeah, I love that. That feels very you. 100%. Yeah. Obviously, because we play a lot of games together and you're my DM or whatever. It's like that rings true for like many. Like I could see him in our campaign. I'm probably selling art to him illegally, right? And that's just like, it's so nice to see. I don't know. For me, it's obviously a character that's kind of familiar, even though it's, you know, a completely new character and they're an unnamed NPC in the world or whatever. But it's nice. It's interesting. I always like alternative narrative in poetry because it's that, where does the line go between it being a poem and it being a monologue, and where's that kind of difference? And I think it's the intent from the writer, right? So you intended that to be a poem, so thus it is a poem. Obviously it's also in standard habit and has loads of rhyme and meter and structure to it, but that sort of, yeah, I like it a lot.
It's standard habby. Robin Williams at the start of Aladdin and Khajiit has wares if you have coin mushed together and made into a poem. That's your like kind of thing. It was dumb. I really enjoyed writing in standard habby, as I thought I might. And so I wrote this in the same week that was writing Contrapuntal. And so for those that have seen our Contrapuntal, know I didn't have the bet, or at least in the writing of, didn't necessarily have the most enjoyable time writing it, whatever.
Wrote a
the final
bloody
product.
Amazing toem.
Yeah.
But that one took, and I wanted to write that one because I knew that one was the deadline, right? So I started writing the Contrapuntal because that was the most important one, right? Standard habby. I wasn't going to let it, but if all else had failed, it could have been missed, and you know, like the viewers wouldn't have suffered too much. But I started writing, it stopped, and then went, I'll take a break and start writing the standard habit, and wrote it then that evening. I had so much fun writing it. I sort of like, it's as long as it is, because I sort of like, sort of got to that good point in that session, but I'm like, I think I could expand upon this a bunch.
Yeah.
It's
a great poem for a poetry pantomime.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It very much fits your style. Like when you do like funnier PCs, they tend to lean, like me and Gallie got this weird sort of provisional project once where we had to write around sort of quite standard
oh my god
themes. and Gallie wrote this kind of like Viking beer hall piece that was great, and like, you know, you've done sort of like piratey stuff, or like when you lean into those, you find that like sing-songy fantasy kind of like, you know, tone really well. I think the thing that goes underrated about you, Gallie, is you have like a very wide vocabulary, like a totally extensive vocabulary. Like in all your work, your word choice is always really interesting and playful, and like you use a lot you rely almost more on alliteration than like traditional rhyme, or like consonants rather than assonants more often than not, right?
Certainly much more since doing these NaPoWriMos, I've noticed, comparing back to older stuff.
But I think in that, then when you do something like this, it feels very more sing-songy, because it is that kind of da-da, and like, it's very fun. There's an immediate tonal shift.
I like this, but when I'm not talking slow, I'm talking fast and I'm mad. If it's like
but it works for the topic as well, that kind of like, you know, you're trying to, it's the you know, market barker, right? It's trying to get you sports socks, $2 for the pound. It's like one that thing to cut through, and the idea, like when you say the Robin Williams genie, it works because it's that, you know, initial
it's that like fast paced and
selling you something. It's great.
It's great too. Oh no, just to quickly say, like, standard Happy is so great for comedic poems because you can, because of the meter and rhyme scheme, you can anticipate the punchlines so much, but which enhances their humor. So it's I think it's an earlier stanza about like a ray gun that doesn't have a stun setting, and so you know that the next line is going to be like, your foes will die. And it's great, like, because as a reader, or as a listener, you're constantly like going, oh, what's he going to say, and it's going to rhyme with this, on a subconscious level almost, but it really enhances the fun of it. And I think it's great too, you have a real skill at writing on super niche well, this isn't particularly niche, but like often your work is super niche, but you still make it enjoyable for the listener. Like I'm a nerd in many ways, but I'm not a D&D-ish person, so I listen to that and I'm like, I don't know what the ending means, but I still had a ball. And it's great. Like I can enjoy that very much, even though I'm not part of that community who understands the references directly. And I think that that's a real skill, to make your poetry feel open to everyone. So
Oh, well, like that's good. Yeah, and I know, it's niches, but that's where it's like context. Otherwise, you're just like, who is this mad?
What is happening? Yeah,
you know.
I've been to Borough Market in years. Anyway,
could I have a quiche, please?
It's just my memories of Camden, like from back.
Oh my god.
Regardless,
they always let you try that free chicken, and it was so good.
Hang on, this doesn't sound like praise.
Sorry.
Regardless of, I was going to say, regardless of how good it is, it doesn't matter. You did all 5 completely.
Oh
yeah.
What an angry acknowledgement.
Everyone gets it. I'll get everyone a certificate. We'll take a picture at the start of the May show, May 13th. We've got fucking Katie, Iona Lee, Carly Brown, and fucking Tony Walsh coming to our show in May. So come and join us like next week or the week after. I can't remember what day it is. But come and join us very soon at the Storytelling Centre. And if you're in Dumfries, we'll be coming to you. So all the details are down below. We won't dwell on it. But at that May show, it's going to be so good. But at the start of that show, I will get us all together. We'll have our certificates. And we'll take a little picky of us with all our lovely certificates and medals. That is a promise I make to you guys now for entertaining me in our challenge of NaPoWriMo 2022 and writing along with me. I'm very grateful for you all, and you were fucking amazing. Wow.
Good work.
Because if not for you, Bex, I don't know what I would perform at our May show, other than 5-year-old poems.
Well, maybe that's the question. Does anyone have like a particular poem, whether it's going to be a performed piece or otherwise, or it's something you're still working on? What's your favorite from 2022?
I'm gonna ask of our own or
of your
others,
own.
You
can nominate someone else if you want, but like, we're just chatting shit. What do you think?
A personal favorite? I in a really weird bit of going, I really like pretty much a lot of the poems that I've written this month, I don't think any of them are going to stay exactly the same. The only one that might stay exactly the same to then go on would probably be, I think, my Villanelle, because that one's so already kind of restricted with that, and I've enjoyed that one as like a little short one.
Yeah, it's a great short piece for like performing and like in between stuff. It's really, really interesting the way that you play with your tone and the way it's such a performance Villanelle.
Which is what I like about it. I think it's part of the thing is I was thinking about how I would write it down, and I have the way I write it down, but I'm like, I don't know if I can write it down. It's funner to me to not have the but yeah, I think I'm more encouraged to go through and do some editing of the ones from this time, some play and some tweaks, but then I'm also aware that I did say that last year, and so I'll but that's my vote for my one. The first one we did, stopped at one.
That's fine. I think my fave is my Standard Happy. The tribute to Burns is a place in my heart.
So good.
It's a comedic piece that felt very in my wheelhouse, and I feel like it will serve a purpose that might actually come up in my poetry career at some point, rather than all of my other pieces.
I think that's one that's really good for Burns gigs as well. Like you're saying, there is like a direct, I know where I will throw that into a set, which is like, that works. Or
if you're doing like a show where the audience is like predominantly other poets, like that might be a really good one. There's like certain ones that you kind of write for other writers. Obviously the found poems are hard to necessarily perform, but like I suppose it depends on which one you write. But yeah, for me, Standard Happy, I think that's the form I'm most likely to go back to and have a play with again at some point.
It's funny because for me it's similar with the Standard Happy, because I said in the podcast that week, like, I don't have funny poems, which is really awkward when I'm at a gig and I really want to like do a funny one and I just have nothing. So I was really proud of my Standard Happy because it is a funnier one. And it's really interesting for me as well, needing to learn a new skill set, because I did that poem at the open mic up in Aberdeen and realized I was like, I don't really know how to perform funny poems. Like, when do I pause for laughter? When do I just charge ahead? How do I modulate my volume? How do I not overperform this? I was like, for someone who's had like, a lot of experience performing, I was totally in the dark. And so it's something that like, I'm going to talk to you guys about, like, could you give me advice on how to perform this?
Let's have a chat.
Yeah, because I was up there going, ha ha ha. And I was like, this is at 180 and it needs to go down to 90.
I will give everyone who writes comedy comedy poetry this morning once, right? There will be a moment where you pause for laughter and it is not there. That will happen to you at some point in your career. That's it. That's the first. Don't worry about it. It will happen once. It will be dreadful, and it will never happen again. It will be absolutely fine. So yeah,
my favorite example of that always is Mark has his Pokemon poem, and he did it one time, and you could just tell from the first joke there was no one in the room that knew anything about Pokemon, and it was just his wee face realizing he had like another 3 minutes of Pokemon puns to go, and you're like,
I didn't feel bad for me. I love that poem. That's full of good puns. I was like, oh well. Sucks for you guys, but I'm not changing poem now.
But I think
I was just saying I like that one because every time I read it near you, I hear you chuckle at a different bit, Kev. So that's quite like that's always fun for me.
That's what I love about the pun poems is when you get one that you didn't notice before. But that actually feeds into what I was saying anyway. Of like sometimes it's a different skill when you're reading poetry that's funny, because like. When you have stand-up, right, the structure of like stand-up is built around the laugh or the expectation of a laugh or not, right? So you're literally writing to the beat of the audience, or to like, or you're writing a specific beat that generates that pause, but the pause is inbuilt, right? Whereas when you're doing poetry, sometimes you want that. But it's not as easy an answer as not that it's an easy answer in stand-up, but like the natural inclination to go, they've laughed, I'll stop here, I'll allow that laughter to pitter, and as it comes down, I'll kick back in. It's not as easy in poetry because sometimes the next bit depends on the flow, depends on the rhythm, which is working to a different master than generate a laugh there. So it's an interesting thing of like, it needs to be considered more in the writing than in the performance where you want to leave those spaces. I think
also when you're constructing like a comedic, I mean, this is not a workshop on constructing comedic poetry. If that's something you're interested in seeing, I'm happy to do it. Tell me in the comments. But one of the things that was taught in kind of when you're telling any jokes is you kind of want the punchline to be at the end. So when I'm writing a comedic poem, if I want something that's going to be, if there's like a joke that I think is for a niche audience, if it's like a more minor reference, or if it's something that's just like for the real hardcore fans, they're going to be like, that will go like in the middle. But sometimes, you know, the joke might be that you need a second to like breathe on it, or you might need like, you know, where what's the next line and all of that. So there is a lot of like construction around doing comedic poetry in terms of like the timing and performance of it.
It's why the pun poem works the way Gallie says, of like, he hears me chuckling at a new bit, because it'll often be those more niche references that are sandwiched in that I haven't heard because I've laughed at the big gag.
Yeah.
And so there's that play to it. It's an interesting, I hadn't thought about that, Kate, that you have much less experience doing like funny pieces. That's interesting.
Totally different skill set. Yeah.
No, and it's sometimes it's not even just the thing of like of letting it go. It's like where the then line breaks in poems. Because I've discovered poems. I was like, this is my spooky poem. Gone, oh, this is a funny poem. Who knew? They did. Apparently. And it's like you discover the other way.
Room matters a lot. Yeah.
And so it's like an example that immediately comes to mind. It's just even where that dramatic pauses is with Demi Anter's video for Clear, with the line of going like, I'm from California, which means I have friends in California. And it's that pause that makes it just, it adds the extra. You're going, oh, that extra joke. Sometimes the audience will tell you where you've made a joke after enough practice of them as well. So that's why I'm like, even though I don't do Pokemon as much anymore because it's about Pokemon Go, which is a long time ago, it's not like just because a room, like the poem doesn't get a laugh the one time.
Well, it doesn't mean the poem's not funny.
Yeah, if we ever do like a student gig or something, 100% Pokemon's coming out. Like,
it just sometimes means it's just not that audience. Oh, the audience for Pokemon now is very different because I've done that into a crowd that said nothing, and then I've done it in a school once, and they were like, not a clue, because they're younger than the generations I'm referencing. So like weirdly, it's folk my own age that get Pokemon.
It's me and you just giggling at you.
It's maybe not. And I realized someone asked me, went, oh, is it child friendly? And I went, I don't actually think it is. It's got swears in it. I went, that's actually a really good way to cripple your child friendly poem, is unnecessary swears. I was like, ooh, so there's a point of writing advice. If you think you've got fun poems or things like, I think, Bet, you don't swear a lot in your poetry because there's then no need a lot of the time. Sometimes a swear is great, but go,
I like to use the swear word for emphasis rather than as a conjunctive word, like, you know what I mean. What about you, Kev? You didn't tell us what your favorite is.
Yeah, sorry, I hijacked everything.
No, I was just going to say I really enjoyed the standard Happy Kate, and it was really nice to see you put it in a set because I think it worked really well.
Really great
when you did it in the open mic. It was a lot of fun, and I think that it is good to have that in your back pocket, something that you can throw out that's a bit whimsical. I remember doing Dan Simpson's stand up and slam and being like, I have no funny poem. Oh dear Lord, like this is going to be horrible. But yeah, you change the tone. For me, I really enjoyed the Terza Rima, writing in Terza Rima. I had a lot of fun with that form, more than I thought I was going to have. And I think I came up with something. I'm trying to push. Yeah, you're always trying to do stuff with your writing. I'm trying to push kind of what I'm doing. And be a bit, more conceptual and a bit more authentic to my own voice, and like to write. Yeah,
that's a different podcast.
Yeah, but just to try and find more of the things I kind of want to write about. I'm often like worried about writing certain things and stuff because I think other poets have done it better, or it's just the same old criticisms. People do it themselves, and I'm like, no, you should lean in and have fun with what you do, and maybe allow myself to write more like some of the people I enjoy and take influences from that. So I think the Terza Rima really kind of sums up a lot of that, just trying to be a bit more abstract and play with that, but still make it in a digestible kind of format. So that's the one where I did the kind of weird dog attack on the postman who just kind of sell it, and that kind of strangeness. I've always been a huge fan of guys like Jack McMillan and Sam Small, Rob Otten. I love that style of very, what feels like very real and contemporary and kind of gritty, but also is sort of strange and funny and wild. And so I was just trying to I like that one.
That was a great piece.
Well done, everyone. I do believe before we're going to get on, we're going to share some poems from Not Us in a moment. But I do believe that Katie might have something. I don't really know what this is, but I've been told that Katie has something for Mark, and I'm just going to sit back and let this happen.
I do.
What?
So Mark, I have a little
poem.
gift for you. Don't look in your chat yet. I'll introduce it. But there's something in your chat. So for anyone who watched our episode on found poetry, what I did is I used my parents are on a big trip across the US. I used all of their emails and texts to create a found poem. I then, shared it with my parents and we had a lovely chat about it. And they watched the podcast about this. And right after they watched the podcast, I got this message from them. So audience, I believe we're going to put this on screen so that you can see. Mark, go ahead and...
Is this a picture of a grackle?
It's a picture of a great-tailed grackle.
Oh, we're gonna get to see a grackle.
Because Mark was very excited in the episode and curious about what a great-tailed grackle was. And so, of course, my ornithologist parents took him seriously and texted me a photo of a great-tailed grackle for Mark. So,
it has got a great tail on it, doesn't it? That's a good, it looks an awful lot like a crow.
Birds all the time now, Gallie. Just
no,
do be prepared. This is just the beginning.
No, there you go. I've somehow, for some reason, I picked my favorite bird, Grackles. Cool.
You're into Grackles. Well,
it looks a lot like a crow and like a lot of other birds. I won't I'm sure I'll find out that is entirely not true. But
get ready for a text from my mom telling you it's not true.
Thank you very much for the picture of the grackle. Your parents.
You're welcome.
Amazing.
Thanks,
if they can send me
now.
$1 million, they can send Mark a picture of a grackle. Can I have $1 million, please? No.
No. Grackle's that hard to find.
Okay, fair enough.
Even if they were, Shirley would find them.
Shirley would find them.
That's great.
She's found so many birds on this trip. Yeah, but we have poems to talk about.
Yes, we do have poems.
Oh, that's my little heart. Oh, that's amazing. I was like, I did the poem. I can't be punished.
You're awarded with
you're rewarded with a great-tailed grackle.
Yes.
Pictures of birds.
Yes. So if you are not interested in our grackle chat, what are you doing? You should quit now. No, I'm joking. We're going to share some poems from some of our amazing friends, other authors who've been writing throughout NaPoWriMo. Some of them have used our form, some of them haven't. Some of them have been writing I think most of them have been writing every day for 30 days, which is a lot. And so I'm going to kick us off with just a little short one. It feels like a NaPoWriMo classic to, if you're writing for 30 days, you are going to write a haiku at least once. And I absolutely love this part. We first saw them performing. They came and performed at our slam, the Edinburgh Fringe Slam. Colin Nelson is his name. He is an amazing poet. It's totally up my street, 100% my vibe to get a topic and obsess about it and write all of your poetry about it. I am all about his poo poetry. You can find Colin at Poetryman on Instagram, where he has all of his NaPoWriMos. They're all very cohesive design wise. They look great. Well done, Colin. 10 out of 10. Also, this one particularly felt relevant. This is Colin's poem, Haiku for My Destructive Dog, number 4. There are previous ones, but I won't spoil them for you. So here is the haiku. Please no, don't eat that. It's poisonous and might kill you. Liquid shit for days.
Wonderful work, Colin. Wonderful
work.
Colin has many longer poems than that on his Instagram. But
if you want a good one, up on our YouTube page, we have the life and times of a sewer-dwelling fat bird.
Yeah,
honestly,
poem Colin performed at our slam, our Fringe Slam in 2021, and it killed me.
I was judging and I was in the front row, and because I was judging, I went into the slam going, you got to keep a relatively straight face, everyone's on stage, they can all see you. That went out the window because I cannot keep a straight face when watching poems. I'm very expressive. Every poem, both poems Colin performed, I was literally crying with laughter. Oh, mama.
His voice is so good as well.
Oh.
It was hosting that, seeing him for the first time, going like doing that, and again, like similar thing. You're trying to be professional. You're trying to come up, coming up in between, try to like reset for the next poet to not let the thing. And it's one of those ones where you get up and just the shock of never seeing it before, mixed with the amazing delivery and the content. I just remember Stuart going, "No, I'm sorry," and had to continue laughing, which didn't help. Because like resetting because everyone still laughed longer.
I think that was the case as well when he did our open mic. Just like we're talking about comedic poets, like in comedic poetry. Just Colin,
perfect example
on the head every time. So great work, Colin. Well done for doing NaPoWriMo. If you want a certificate, let me know. I'll get you one.
Well, I did similar to you, Bex. You picked something up your street, which is relentless commitment to an insane subject. That's obviously your wheelhouse.
Right.
I went for one that again, it's just cool seeing everyone do loads of stuff, and I love when people like just swing into NaPoWriMo and like write their own. It's a real good driver to be like, write something personal, something niche, right? Like we often find that we end up writing very specific pieces because you're trying to churn stuff out, and it's like what's kind of rumbling in your head. And Sarah Davies, who comes to our like open mic and stuff, she's been there, and she's a really cool poet, engages a lot with us online and stuff. She threw up on Instagram, and I was excited for it before it even posted, that she was going to do a found poem using Babylon 5 episode titles. And I assume none of you know what Babylon 5 is, because you're not like a lame sci-fi geek from the early 90s.
I remember the adverts for it on VHSs, but I did not watch.
I mean, I was born in 92, so I think I was a bit too young.
For those that don't know, fools, Babylon 5 is just an incredible sci-fi series. It was so wonderfully done. Looks very, very dated now. I saw Sarah a couple of weeks ago at the open mic, and that was what we were talking about, how badly Babylon 5 is in need of a remake. So I was very excited to see it, and I saw it on our Instagram. It's very cool. So yeah, this is Dreams and Legacies. Ascending the abyss alone, Gethsemane is sleeping. Darkness summoning believers to dreams, torn asunder by tears. Shadows prey on divided loyalties, racing toward twilight stars, a chrysalis of illusion. Blind eyes face distant intersections. Learning compromises comes without lies. Lamentation from meditations, Phoenix rising, firing transition, epiphanies in endgame. Missing real communication. Telepaths' voices fall. Mind powers rest. Very cool.
Ooh, so cool. I always love found poetry with TV titles is like, it's such a good way to do a found poem, particularly if you get like a show which clearly has such like, if it's just episode 1, episode 2, it's not really that exciting. But if they've got like very interesting or reflective, very like interesting language and vocab is used in their TV titles, it makes for great found poetry to get to play around with.
Sci-fi shows specifically work really well. Like when I did found poetry, was it last year we did found poems, or the year before? We did
that was literally
this 2 weeks
ago.
Yeah, sorry.
We did do an initial challenge in 2020 where where this was the challenge we set each other. We were getting to, I think it was week 3 or something, and we were like, oh my god, I'm running out of ideas. So we set the challenge, and that's how this series was kind of born, really.
I did X-Men. I did the 90s X-Men cartoon, because it was like, again, there's these really grand concepts, like when you look at the titles there, and like those are not my Babylon 5, I'm maybe not like as sharp as I once was on it, but like I don't think a lot of those are like absolute show titles. I think what Sarah's done is then like reworked them.
It's the best way of doing it.
I've just realized I did X-Men twice when I've done found.
You love X-Men.
You love X-Men. That's fine. Oh, sorry. Can you not write more than one poem on a theme? Is that a thing that you have a problem with?
I thought that for ages. I used to think that. I used to be like really like particular about not
you
writing.
That's
about
the whole
anything
point of
twice.
militant
cows.
about that.
This is why I was
yeah.
explaining at Aberdeen. The whole point of cows is to be because this was the thing I was finding really challenging with NaPoWriMo in 2020 when we first did it, and when I tried to do it before, is trying to come up with a new idea every single day of like what to write about. Maybe next year we'll just write 5 poems all on the same thing. You can pick X-Men. I can do more cow poems, like whatever.
You know who?
And
You know
that
who
could be the
changed it?
challenge.
You know who changed it in my head? It was Andrea Gibson. We went to see them. Me and Kate went to see them when we were down in Brighton, and just what an absolutely fucking amazing talent like Andrea is, just wild.
Yeah.
And they did a piece. Well, they did loads of pieces that referenced the moon, and then they made a joke about it, like, "Oh, I just keep going on and on about the moon." But they were like, "But like, I like it. I love the." It fits so well and it works so well for all these ways, and you could see the joy they had writing about that subject. And I was like, you know what? I'm stupid. Andrea Gibson's way smarter than me.
Yeah. No, it's the thing of like a motif is a powerful tool in its own sense. Like it doesn't have to be bad that you repeat things. Yeah, absolutely.
No,
oh, that's so cool.
I think there's always, and I think from like if you watch like episodes of the Loudcast, like going back and stuff like that, and you talk to people that are so multifaceted, not just as poets and various other art forms, but even within their poetry, they always go like, oh, I don't want to be thought of being the one thing, and everyone's worried about being pigeonholed for some reason, which I'm like, I get you don't want to, but in the same vein, I'm like, but why not be known for the thing? Like a lot of these people that are famous because they're for a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, which I mean, I suppose brings me to some of my loves, like going like H.P. Lovecraft or like Edgar Allan Poe or Stephen King. Any of these people, they're famous because they're good, like horror writers. Obviously, using my examples, but because they do a thing and they do it good. And it's often the advice I hear for a lot of things is find the thing you can do better than anyone. But yeah, that brings me to some of my like not that these are sort of individual picks, but if folk haven't been, they should be following Lewis Brown on Should Have Sent a Poet on Instagram. You will see the connection to the horror there. For those that aren't familiar with Lewis Brown as much, go to Should Have Sent a Poet and you will see a absolute plethora of amazing reasons
why as well, graphically amazing, interesting designs and stuff.
Done well, like done well on top of it. And that, so I've liked Lewis's poetry for like years. He's one of the oldest one of the first poets I saw, and then I didn't see him for a while. But he has this wonderful poem called The Tall Man's Coat. And for me, it's a fantastic horror piece because you don't realize it's a horror piece until it's too late. And it's so expertly done and crafted, and I could wax about it for ages. But so Lewis has done a bunch of stuff, not all horror within the thing. And that's what I say, if you want to explore outside the box, in the box, whatever it is, he has a lot of wonderful stuff here around the Pokemon area, and he has done a bunch of stuff in similar forms to us. But the one I'm gonna read for the good folk at home is one we didn't do, which there were a number of. He did some of ours, and there was a villanelle around the character that a very famous line in Pokemon about a kid that loves shorts, which just find that one, because if you like villanelles and you like Pokemon and you play those games, just bravo, Lewis. Anyway, the one we didn't do, and it's one I'd never heard of, so I mean, I don't know whether it's called A Prisoner's Constraint.
I'd heard of this, but I don't actually know what it is, so I'm very curious about this.
So Katie doesn't know the form.
I know. So don't panic. I'm gonna add
Take away my doctorate. Please don't. Please
no.
don't.
No, it's fine. No, so I'm not sure of the history and all those things with it. As it's described here, it's a poetic form that forbids all letters that rise or descend above the line. So I think, so the examples here is that so B, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, P, Q, T, and Y are all off limits. And I think what that refers to is like, if you think of like a school jotter or write a notepad, there would be stuff that would go above or below that kind of line.
We'll put a visual example here.
Yeah.
Or go to, does I count? Because
I is used. So I think it's because J dips underneath. So I think
J
I is
dips
okay.
underneath.
Yeah.
So
I love that, because I'm assuming
safe.
the idea is like prisoners only have so much paper, so you have to preserve it, so you have to write as small as possible. I'm presuming that that's the origin and why it's called the Prisoners
Return
Constraint.
to
I don't know.
Form season 3, maybe.
I wasn't sure whether it was
Okay.
prisoner because they were confined within a smaller box, whether it was
Or
some
that-
sort- but
yeah,
anyway,
or
within the
that,
cell. Yeah,
there's a lot of
stayed within the
interesting
cell.
reasons for it. It's number 15 on Lewis's one. So but it's very cool. And so I'll as a concept, just in general, but then the poem he's written, A Rare Moon's Rise, is also very cool. So I'm going to attempt to do it justice. I apologize, Lewis, if I get it, but I'll do my best. A rare moon waxes, our remains rise in answer. Assassins rouse en masse in narrow manor rooms. Common conmen weave common crimes. Where warriors carouse as ever manic voices roar. In oceans amass rivers. In rivers mermen minnow miners ooze. In ooze mire worms murmur or commune. Ere morn no more remains. Our risen marrow nevermore. Mere waxen memories, sans a rare moon's rise. And I just think that's very cool. I've maybe not given that the best. I've maybe not given it the delivery
sound
he
that
would be
makes
giving, but yeah, there's some really
so
nice
interesting.
sound.
It's like the inverse of creating consonants or assonants, and it's the
Yeah.
stripping away to leave you with these bare sounds. It
Yes.
becomes this almost mantra-esque. It's almost like a grunting because it
Yeah.
becomes that kind of like just a noise that the shape of the mouth. That's fascinating.
Obviously, I would love to hear how Lewis would do it because he probably has the best things for it. But I love that, and there is something.
Lewis, come do our open mic again. We want to hear you read it.
Yeah. Look,
See you in May.
but yeah, there's something to that, like as well as like the prisoner's idea of it. Like weirdly, I get these ideas of kind of like the shackling kind of effect to it, which is like that then goes through just with that.
It almost becomes carny speak. Like or pig Latin, right? It almost becomes that like you have to say things within that.
But it's very interesting
structure. It's really interesting
because it's such a different way of restriction in the similar way that like we've all done univocal, for example. We've taken word limitations. Kev, you've done I can't remember the title. You're like your
Help.
Disappearing poem, Help, where like letters disappear. But I'd never thought of a restriction around words or language that was so physical to the words, rather than meaning alphabetically, language, like linguistically.
I'm not looking at it currently, but it must give a nice shape because it's all those M's and O's and N's and
it looks really
it's
cool.
all those kind of like little looping, like
because it's lipogram is the term for that when you're applying
the doctor's back, people.
I may not know what it is, but I know a word for it. Hey. But like, there was I love that, and I love that it's a bit more random because it sounded like a univocal, but not. It only sounded like a univocal in that you could tell that the sounds were constrained, but obviously you have access to all of the vowels in that other than Y. That is,
but it does crazy, like it takes away past tense because you can't use ed, you can't use
or ing, you can't use ing.
Oh man, that eliminates so many, or like Y's, like for just that. That's crazy.
12 letters, the 26 are taken away. So it's almost
like
half
some incredibly
and so incredible, all useful in a large number of ways. It's
and
interesting that it leaves all vowels
sounds, like the cha, hua, like all those.
That is fast. Oh, Lewis, freaking well done. That's amazing.
A lot of people have done amazing, but Lewis did a lot of stuff.
That is
but then
cool.
It's I've read one of the more spooky stuff sort of ones there, just like, but there are some truly just good fun on there.
Nerd poetry is the vibe, and I love it.
So Lewis Brown should have sent a poet.
Every one of these poets that we are sharing, their work will be on screen. It will be below. You should and will go and follow them. We have videos from I believe both Colin and Lewis on our channel, right?
Yeah.
So
that's
they're
it.
available if you want to go and see what they're about. We'll have them back at the open mic. Come and join us, see some poets, see some poetry. It's so good. And obviously we cannot talk about NaPoWriMo without talking about someone who has done it as long, if not longer than us, and has absolutely written way more poems than we have. I believe this is her third successful consecutive year of 30 poems in NaPoWriMo. I mean, I saw you tag us in one of them at like 12 minutes past 12, so I don't know whether that counts. No, I'm joking. Katie, you have some work from our amazing pal Georgia
Bartlett
Georgia!
McNeil, the queen of NaPoWriMo. Yeah, Georgia is amazing. And Mark's talking about like, at some point in NaPoWriMo, we all do a haiku, right? Nah, mate. Georgia does like 30 long, fully formed poems. A bunch of them use form. Her Terzarima, it's not the one that I'm reading today, but it blew my mind. Absolutely gorgeous. She has a great standard habby. I know last year she was writing sestinas, and she came up to me, she's like, oh yeah, I wrote a sestina in 40 minutes. And I was like, sestina in 40 minutes. So good, honestly, so good. And I feel like, to get on my soapbox for a minute, I feel like the Scottish scene is sleeping on Georgia Bartlett McNeil and has been for a long time. If you are someone who books spoken word and you haven't booked Georgia, book Georgia, because she is incredible and so talented.
It's crazy how little work she gets. Like
she's in she is at Newcastle
she does great
for
stuff,
the online
wrong.
festival. There is a link below. I believe that's on the 6th of May, which may be when this episode drops, but who knows? We'll make sure it's plugged in.
None of that work seems to come from like just poetry nights in Scotland, which is insane to me. Like, just the more places don't book her.
PSA book Georgia had details on Georgia.
But in any case, I was looking through everything that she's written this month, figuring out which one to choose, and I picked one that I hadn't read on the night, and that just really, my favorite part about Georgia, I think at one point I called her the queen of imagery, and it's so true. She uses description so beautifully. So this is, which day was this? I can't remember, but in any case, this is one of her poems from NaPoWriMo. Flip-flops kiss rain-swept cobbles, graffitied garage doors, the backdrop of post-work pre-tea cigarettes. They stand bedecked in dressing gowns and jogging bottoms. I wonder how the fire they breathe could possibly keep them warm enough in the mist and the midst of another April shower. Yet as I pass them, all the way on the other side of the road, I hear them laughing. Barks and coughs to mirror the city's soundscape, they reverberate off the sides of the old stone homes and the craggy cliffs that survey the scene as I do, yet somehow more austere, more judgmental, as if it has the right to be, as if stone does not have the liberty to be moved, as if it doesn't tremble with laughter when the earth vibrates beneath it, like it doesn't cry when April showers turn to torrents and it can only witness the parts of itself that are washed away, turn to debris and detritus as its feet, and resolve to slowly grow again. And as I turn the corner, I feel a smile etch itself into my cheeks, feel them blush rosy like a peck from spring, or like the end of a lit cigarette. She's just
love you, Georgia. Yeah, just amazing work. Like, I mean, we've been saying this, obviously, Georgia has just such a huge collection of poetry that's available for free on her Instagram, and like all of them are unique and amazing. So please do follow Georgia, follow the other poets that we spoke about as well. Well done, you guys. You will get a certificate. If any of you completed NaPoWriMo and want a certificate, just ping me a tweet at Bex Poet and I will make you a certificate just for you to say well done, because you deserve it for the work that you've done.
You know people are gonna hit you up for that.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean it. Hit me up. I will make you up. I will make your certificate. I'll post it to you. You deserve it.
While we were talking about other people's work, just because another couple of things stood out to me, not to read, but one was I kind of at this month's or April's like poet show that we did. I kind of sprung it on Jack because I knew. So Jack Hinks, who is a phenomenal musician, absolutely amazing. Musician, but
great photographer too, if you need a photographer.
Great photographer and a wonderful lyricist. Like, he writes beautiful lyrics, And I've spoken to Jack for years about like how he wanted to also, he's someone who gets the difference, and he really wanted to like do poetry as well. And like, he's always been a good writer. I think this year, his NaPoWriMo stuff, he's again someone who does it. I think it just really it hit a different level this year. He smashed it. And so I sprung it on him to when I introduced him for the second half of our show to do a piece, and he did it. And I was like, I knew he was a very good writer. It's a very different thing and an excellent performer as a musician, but it's a very different thing to do something you're not used to. And I thought he stepped up amazingly on very, very little notice and did a poem, which was amazing to see. It's up on the YouTube channel. Go and check it out. We love Jack Hinks very much. And like, to be so multi-talented is wonderful. And I also wanted to shout out Sarah Grant, who
Sarah Grant,
again, like people like Sarah and George are, are loud poets, like in terms of they do so much with us. They've worked with us for so long. They're like,
they get it. They understand.
Yeah. And to see Sarah, who's currently so busy doing amazing work, still find time to fit in NaPoWriMo was super special. And as she always does, she got to stick the little fucking knife in, didn't she, Sarah? She made films of some of her poems. She did all the forms, and then she made these little like films for them. Beautiful. They're beautiful. She put them out on her Twitter at Sarah Grant Creative. So go and check those out. Jack Hinks at Jack Hinks Music, because they're both superstars and done some amazing stuff and made it their own, and like two people that very much get their own tone and own voice. And I thought, they both smashed it this year as well. So go and check them out.
You get a certificate. Just let me know and I'll send it to you. You've earned it. I'm super pleased by NaPoWriMo. I'm really glad that while it is a chore and a trial, and it is a lot. Obviously, if you're busy, you've got stuff on, it's difficult to input something new into your routine, especially at the moment. Like, it was different in 2020 because we were inside and nothing was happening and everything was shut. But now we're back. Life is a bit more normal-ish. Touch wood, and we're doing more. There's shows going on again. We've got open mics. We've got projects that we're working on. It's very difficult to sit and spend some time to write. So it's nice to put a little challenge together for yourself to write some new pieces. But you should be writing poetry out with April. We should all be writing more poetry together. Maybe I will. I'm the first to admit that I don't practice what I preach. But if you're ever needing some inspiration, then why not turn to form? We do have other forms that we did as part of Return to Form Season 2 that we did not write about, namely the palindrome poem, which everyone seems to love at the moment. And our palindrome poem examples were amazing. I just can't
Desmond
even.
Gardosi and Robin Lamball.
It was like they were born to write palindrome poems. Just absolutely astonishing work from them. And obviously Katie's workshop is there as well to help you if you, like me, have no idea what you're doing. I wrote a Renga with Kate Took and Imogen Sterling, which is why we did not do the Renga as part of this challenge. I loved our Rengas. We wrote 3 between us and collaborated. It was so exciting and different for me to get to work collaboratively with people who I didn't know about poems and have that kind of conversation. It's really nice to engage people. And Mark, you wrote poems as well, right? What did you write?
I did the list poem.
You did do the list poem, a classic form.
I did a list poem that is
it was you and Malika Kagodi.
Yes, sorry, I should say that.
Very different approaches.
Very different approaches.
Great.
Yeah,
I loved it. That's my favorite part of Return to Form. End of NaPoWriMo is seeing everyone take on the same forms and just do such different work. And that's the joy of it. And Bex, if you're having trouble finding your creative energy post NaPoWriMo and you've already watched all the workshops and you're like,
what do I do now? Oh my God.
What do I do now? Where are my poets? What am I supposed to do? Well, sorry, Bob, we got a Patreon. And if you sign up to our Patreon at the £10 a month community tier, not only do you get early access to a bunch of our stuff, not only do you get to see full shows that we put out, but you also get to take part in our monthly creative writing workshops, which I lead, and they're tailored to you. And we're going to be embarking on a sort of a special program, especially focused on editing, because so often writing workshops are like, let's write this thing, let's spark an idea, but then what do you do after? And I think especially in May, that's often the question, like, I wrote all this stuff in NaPoWriMo, how
Now
do I
what?
hone it?
What
Now
do I
what?
do with it?
What do
Yeah.
I do with it? So we're going to be focusing a bit on that. So if you are interested, please check out all the links below. You can sign up to our Patreon. If you have any questions about that, do just ask us. But we had one of these workshops last month, and it was amazing. Bex was talking about it in our previous episode. So cannot wait to go forward with the next one, and would love for you to join us.
If you like the idea of joining us places, you can join us. We do loads of shows, as I think we've already plugged, but I'll plug it again. We have our 2022 live season funded by Creative Scotland. Thank you so much. We get to do amazing shows both in Edinburgh and outside of Edinburgh. So we were in Aberdeen in April, which we spoke about quite a lot. We're heading to Dumfries next. We'll be in Dundee later this year. Keep an eye out on our socials. It's all tagged. We've got everything set up. It's going to be so much fun. If you're in Dumfries and you'd like to perform with us, we have open mic slots available. Just head down on the night and enter your name to perform with us on a stage. It's going to be dope. We have Tony Walsh coming with us. We also have Katie Ailes and Chelsea Nash, who we have not seen before, and I'm very excited because she looks really, really cool. So hopefully the main aim is to speak to all these poets that live far away and ask them how exactly I can also be cool, because they seem very cool.
Doing the away shows has been great. Like we did Aberdeen just there, and it was so much fun. Like there's so much more talent than I think people see in the Scottish spoken word scene, because like there's not a lot of infrastructure for it, and unless you're like at the gig or know about the gig, you're going to miss some people. We had Sophia Siren
so good.
be part of the feature team, obviously with you, Bex, and Repeat Beat Poet when we went up to Aberdeen, and it was just such a good gig. And like the open mic, people that I've not seen in ages, like Nick Bagshaw, people I'd never seen before, like Fiona Robertson.
Nick is a delight,
yeah, just really, really good folk. And that was, scratching the surface. Just to give a shout out to Orla Kelly, who's running Speaking Weird up there. She does an amazing job, and like Matey and Sangu running Hysteria and stuff. So like there's a real burgeoning scene up there. I'm very excited to see what's going on in Dumfries. We're partnering with Brave New Words, which is part of the Stove Network, and they have been really cool and supportive. And then with Dundee, we're obviously working with Gavin Cruikshank and Hodgepodge, which is just going to be cool. Shout out to David McDonald. We hope you're feeling better, bud. You're getting through. We got you. We'll see you when we come up. So yeah, it's going to be really cool to explore a bit more of the scene. We're hoping to do more of it. If you run a poetry thing anywhere in this country, like get in touch, because even if we can't come there, it'd be really nice to like hook up with more spoken word organizations. Try and put the thing together. So yeah,
we send out 2 newsletters a month. Our May one has just gone out. Thank you to all our newsletter signups. Please sign up if you want to keep up to date, not only with what we're up to, but also I compile a list. I spend a lot of time every month going through and trying to find as many spoken word events happening across the UK as possible. And I put them all very nicely in date order, and it's all great. So if you're doing shows and you want to be shouted out to more people, let me know. I would love to know more about your event. We want to share it. We want to keep the scene growing and alive and vibrant and beautiful. Yeah.
Subscribe.
Yeah, so subscribe to our newsletter, subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on Patreon, follow us on all the other social media. If you can't make it to one of our live shows, or maybe if you want to perform yourself, but you're based in Edinburgh, I don't know where you could do that. Oh wait, yes I do. Mark, do you want to tell us a little bit about the open mic?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's off the back of like things like Kev was saying from the away shows. It's been fantastic. We've just had our open mic down at the Kilderkin, just on sort of at the bottom end of the Royal Mile. They've been super awesome. We've just had our third one, I believe. Third? Yes, third.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun. I love an open mic because you get the variety of everything, and it's like, and not to like that to say it sounds different from a variety night. I love seeing people at the starts of their journeys. I love seeing people way further on in their journeys still going, I'm going to test out this thing. The scene for me has been something that's always been very kind and very considerate and very welcoming. And the last few years through, you don't want to harp on about it, have been fairly devastating for a lot of artist communities. And obviously, within our city, if there's nowhere for those people to go, if there's no infrastructure, if there's no places for people to practice, to play, I love an online gig. You can't do comedy. Bex has spoken about it before. If Katie's to get into comedy pub, sometimes you need that audience, you need those people there. And it's been really cool since doing them. We've had some amazing features come on and be able to show off their stuff, as well as some people that I have never seen before, and some people that have written for the first time, some folk that have recently just moved up. And it's, you know, it's completely free at the Kilderkin. You don't have to pay to come in. Just come in. It's the last Monday of the month. That's kind of for every month. The next one for this will be the 30th of May. And you should come on down, even if you don't want to necessarily perform. There's been folk that have come along just to like see what the night's like, see if it's for you, see if you want to share. I get that scary. I remember the first times I was doing performance and I was absolutely terrified, but I like to think that it's a good space and it's very encouraging. And, you know, hopefully folk will back me up on that. Yeah. But yeah, come on down if you are able to come along to those nights. I know obviously that's more Edinburgh Central, but please do, if you want to sign up, please email us and we will put your name in the hat beforehand.
It is down below. You can tweet us if you've got any questions or drop us an email. But yeah, we do people give them slots before the night, but we always have a couple of spaces left on the door. If you're in town suddenly and we're like, I have a Monday evening free, I don't want to sit in my hotel room, I'm gonna go and watch some poetry.
Just a quick shout, our last feature at the open mic was Chris Boyland, who's amazing. And if you weren't there and you missed Chris, don't worry, because he is launching his new book on the 20th of May. He's got a gig in Edinburgh. So go and check out Chris on Twitter and all that to get details, or like hit us up for more. But yeah, he's launching his new book. Great poet. Yeah. Good stuff.
It's been a thrill to kind of do this year, especially because the scene is kind of coming back to life. Everyone's leaving the house a little bit more, other than Kev, who was staying very firmly in his house. But everyone else is leaving the house. It's fair enough. Everyone else is leaving the house a little bit more. We've obviously got events going on. So we have another year before we get to NaPoWriMo of 2023. We're not sure yet what we're going to do. So if you have anything that you would like to see, if there was anything that we did over the course of NaPoWriMo that you found particularly helpful or amusing or think we should talk about a little bit more, hit us up in a comment, email us, whatever. You know how to get in touch with people. You exist in this age, so please let us know, and we will love to take your feedback on board.
Not really, because I did this. I was like, who do you want to see on the Loudcast if I brought the Loudcast back? First person to reply was Phil Dupas. Just get Phil Dupas. I'll just we'll do what we can within our ability to make it happen. Who do you want on the Loudcast? Just get Pip. Why not? Like,
I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but speaking of the Loudcast.
Yeah, I'm looking to bring back the Loudcast, folks. I love doing the Loudcast. It was the absolute highlight of my lockdown, getting to like it was the only way I continued to communicate with people was just meeting up with folk on a more digital space, and it was a lot of good fun. And we're doing a lot this year, and meeting poets that are kind of coming up from down south, that we're bringing in for part of the funded season. I was like, it'd be nice to talk to them more, so I'm maybe going to hit some of them up and see if I can get them to come on. Maybe some folk that from the Scottish scene that we didn't get a chance to have on the show previously. So if people have ideas that aren't famous people to come on,
keep us humble.
Then let us know who you'd like to see come on and have a chat. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I really love chatting about poetry, and whenever we do this, it always it encourages me to want to do more of it. I hate rounding off the NaPoWriMo one without a kind of plan to come into more. I wrote more. I was so chuffed with my contrapuntal last week that I kept writing. I started a whole new piece that it's a kind of longer spoken word piece, something I've not really written purposefully in quite a while. So I was really pleased. So yeah, I'm feeling pumped. So Loudcast coming at you, maybe hopefully if I can get it organized.
Yeah. Soon.
Not as regularly as this. It's not going to be weekly.
It's not going to be weekly, but we will do it when we can. And we really appreciate all of your guys' support. Thank you for watching and listening and sharing and engaging with us and sending in your poetry. It's very difficult to reiterate to people that while all of us are full-time poets, we are not full-time poets. It really, a lot of people, when I think the dream is when you're younger that you think, oh, I want to be a writer so I can sit and write all day. And the actual truth of it is maybe like 10% of your month is spent writing and the other 90% is spent doing stuff. If 10, right? Is the other 90% is doing, there's a lot of admin around it. There's a lot of accounting and media, and even us working together. There's a lot of other stuff that kind of gets in the way of writing. So it is really important, if you can, within your week, within your month, however it best works for you, take take some time, find some way to improve your craft, whether that is writing in form or out with it, whether it's writing for the page or the stage. Poetry is very much alive and well in the UK, and we want to help you and see more of your work. So even outside of NaPoWriMo, we'd love to see poems. If you want to tag us in anything, it would be great to see it. And we just want to thank you so much for joining us. We've done enough plugs, so I'm not going to bore you with any more of that. But this is the end of NaPoWriMo 2022. Well done, everyone. And we will catch you next April.
Good job. Well done, guys.
Go
Good
team.
job.
Woo!
Finished.
We made it.